Welcome to Movified Wednesdays. I'm your host, Mark Hirschi from Salmon's Moving and Storage, located in Vancouver, British Columbia. And I am super pumped to open up this episode 1 with the two leading men. Get ready and tune in. We have Stephen Reed with Big League Movers, and we have Brian Slater with New City Moving out in Chicago. I guess, maybe, possibly, whatever. Yeah, exactly. Welcome, boys. This is going to be our new Wednesdays. So I'm really excited for everybody to kind of tune in and check us out. We're like the three-headed dragon, as you said earlier.
I like it.
It. Right. Well, don't freeze up now that we're on a podcast. So
no, I'm not going to freeze. Shake it out.
Shake it out.
I'm going to shake it out.
So, I always kind of want to start off like these segments with something totally different, something we haven't done in any of the podcasts before. And we're not going to really call out that moving company, but we want to kind of just hack into, especially since always everybody's on like, I get Google reviews. Well, what happens when you have a big headline that says worst packers I've ever used? This was our 13th move in 12 years, and this one takes the cake. I like how this person actually did a summary and did pros and cons. I didn't even have to do this. Pros: friendly, respectful employees. The girls who did our packing were very nice to me, and my kids love them. They dress professionally and use appropriate language, which is that's a good pro. That's a good start. Cons.
I think you want that out of a pack.
Expectations were low. It says them going into it, expectations were low is what I hear right there.
Yeah, for sure. Now here comes the cons. Terrible pack job. Majority of the boxes were not packed efficiently, leaving lots of empty room in each box for content to shift around during transport, and also empty boxes were crushed when any other boxes were stacked on top of them. In the end, not all of our stuff was packed efficiently enough to get it all to even fit in the moving truck. After lengthy discussions and sharing photos with the company, they claimed nothing was wrong because no items of value were broken. They even tried to blame their inefficient pack job on the fact that I hadn't purchased their boxes. We've always had that case before. They didn't care that I lost precious space in my truck because of the incredible inefficient packing, and I was just out $800 for a terrible pack job and had to leave a bunch of stuff behind, which was thousands of dollars of furniture and household items. They did not stand behind their work, and their satisfaction guarantee turned out to be a joke. They did not offer me a penny back, even after I asked if they would give me a discount for a terrible job. Not recommended at all.
Cringe when you hear those things. I've had them myself. So you flash back to your own self reading those things about your company, right?
Well, let's break it down here. Like the pros, right? So at the end of the day, what happened? So they followed like step 1. They were friendly, respectful employees. These people showed up. They were well dressed. They were super nice to the family. I mean, that's great. I like that. They probably were super nice to the kids.
No F-bombs.
They also had girls showing up for the pack. Right?
That's awesome.
So, I mean, I've seen guys show up for a pack and they're not sitting there playing with the kids or making any conversation.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. It's a different world. It really is. A packing is a different personality than a mover. That's for sure.
But now what happens when the pack goes to shit?
Well, who's going to start?
Yeah,
I can start.
I don't think you really know when the pack goes to shit in this situation, right? Sorry, Brian, I had a little lag there, but
no. I'm saying that probably at the point that you read the one-star review, you know that something's at least might have gone to shit.
Yes, yeah. But before that, she says on move day, right? She realized that the pack went to shit when she couldn't fit all the stuff in the truck. Is what I picked up in that topic at the end, right? Is her frustration really is she spent more money because she had to take 2 trips or didn't take 2 trips, or it was a long distance that foot couldn't fit on, whatever it was, is what I kind of gathered from there.
Yeah, I think the context here, I think it drastically changes if it's a long distance move or if it's a local move, right? Yeah. If it's a local move, chances are that she went back to grab the items, maybe rented a truck, maybe had somebody on Craigslist or a friend go pick them up. In that case, you just figure out how much she comped that person and totally just like, hey, we're going to take care of the costs associated with that extra spillover stuff that we weren't able to take on move day. Honestly, I probably would just send out a crew the next day after I read this review. If the items are still there, go ahead and comp her, just pick up the stuff for free if it's only a couple items and just take care of that.
Yeah, that's the first thing I thought of too is it long distance or is it not, is what I was reading through there.
I think I have a little process. I got a little process here that might be good for the viewership.
Please.
Okay. The way that I would dissect this is when I get these reviews, I copy and paste these reviews into a Word doc. I look for bullet points that I can take from the review. Nice guys or nice girls, friendly service, appropriate language, blah, blah, blah. So I would take some of the pros, but then I would take the cons list. I would break down the cons list into digestible pieces of bullet points that I can have ready when I call up the customer. I would say that throughout my time, we probably messed up about 3% of moves that we were handling. Of that 3% of moves, I would say 50% of them were just complete wackadoos. And then I would say that the other 50% really had some sort of claim. So basically what I would do at the head of the company, much like Walt Disney, right? Walt Disney was looking to give everybody a great experience, but he knew at his parks that he was going to focus on the 1% of people that at Disney World that did not have a good experience. And he was going to spend 99% of his energy at satisfying that 1% of the consumer. So this way they wouldn't go off, tell their friends, their kids would tell people. So he focused 99% of his attention on 1% that didn't have a good time in his parks, viewing his movies, all of that kind of stuff. I think when I was handling this stuff, there was so many tiers between claims, customer service, the office manager that could handle these people, that if it got to the point of a review and we knew that we needed to get that review down, that I would just suck it up once a week. I would block 2 hours out of my schedule and I would just call the 3 people during that busy summer week that had a bad experience with us. And I would talk to them basically myself. I would bullet point everything that was negative. I would call up the consumer with a non-conversational, confrontational tone and say, hey, listen, we strive for 5-star service. We strive to be the best mover around. My name is Brian Slater. I'm the owner of the company. First and foremost, whatever comes out of this, I want to let you know that we apologize for the perception or for the reality of what created a negative move for you.
From the bottom of the heart, be real about it, right? These people hired you and your family, and they're disappointed regardless of what happened. They're disappointed. So go into that call that way.
So a lot of times I'm telling the consumer, like, honest to God, before we stepped foot in your house, it was not our intention to have this experience. And I am sorry that this was your experience. That's number one for me.
I'm so embarrassed, right? I'm so embarrassed that this is how you feel about your move. Using words like that is very important to come from the heart, in my opinion.
The reason why I'm calling you today was because I want to hear in your own words, ma'am, exactly what transpired on this move so that I can take this data back to my people and we can make sure that none of our consumers in the future ever have this experience again. I think that's very important to say. The clients want to know that things are going to change inside of your organization. And at the very minimum, it lets them know that you're working on continuous improvement and you can be able to take those sort of situations as you see them in the future. Then I'm basically saying, hey, I'm really glad that there were a lot of pros regarding this, but based on your review, I'm hearing that everything didn't go great. Would you mind telling me in your own words what happened? Now, when somebody's a keyboard warrior, Mark, they can go on there and they can make up a lot of stuff in order to strengthen their position because people are used to writing these Facebook posts, these Instagram posts.
People are keyboard warriors that are writing these. Just want to add that snippet to it. That's very important to note. When you get,
I think that's right.
You talk to them, it's on, right?
You know why Stephen's correct with 80% is because I typically go to look at other reviews with these folks that basically shitbagged us online. I go to look at these other reviews and you can see that this person has reviewed a McDonald's to say that the Big Mac was not good.
That's the first thing I do is I click on where they just reviewed as well and see that
fucking Big Mac wasn't good from the second you ordered it. You went in knowing that and still you got a problem. So if you would review a Subway about a $5 footlong when you knew that tuna fish doesn't contain any fish anyways, you got a big problem. You're a complainer. So getting them to put it in their own words actually has them summarize and humanize the experience. And you'll notice that what keyboard warriors write online versus what they actually complain about, you get to hear them sort of talk themselves out. And just the lethargy that comes with like being able to explain themselves on that call instantly kind of by the end sort of takes them off guard.
And it means so much. They're not used to being a Karen, if you will. If it is a Karen, they're not used to being a Karen and an owner calling in real time as soon as they find out about it, talking to them. That usually takes people back a little bit too.
The reason why it takes people back, Stephen set me up with all these fucking layups here and slam dunks. The reason why people are off put by this is because there is not a large company with the exception of Zappos, Chewy, and maybe some other few companies, right? There is not a company in Canada or in United States. I'm not to say there's not a company, but there's a very, very, very small 1% of companies that the owner is going to get on the phone and actually apologize to you. I would say 70% of companies aren't even going to call you. 25% of companies are going to have somebody call you that doesn't have any fucking decision-making power anyways. And then that 1% of companies by which the owner calls you, I would say that 90% of customers that I've spoken with over the phone and been able to resolve claims for are like, the second that you identified yourself as the owner and you spoke to me kindly and courteously, I knew that we were going to get this worked out. And I think that's...
Well, would you rather be able to tackle it then, or would you rather go to a wedding and you're in a group of people and somebody walks up to you and says they use big league movers and they're trying to handle it then? Right? You want to, if you got an opportunity to know what that is and go ahead and take that situation away, go ahead and confront it as soon as you can. Go ahead and talk to that person. Don't have it out in the public. Get it out of there. Right?
In a lot of these moving groups, we talk about profitability, and we talk about efficiencies and optimizations and KPIs and metrics, right? But like at the end of the day, let's not forget that we're there to serve the people. We are public servants. We are there to serve the people. My wife ran into somebody on a flight to Nashville for a bachelorette party that had moved with us 3 years ago. And normally when my wife runs into people and she says what her husband does, majority of people will say, "Oh, new city, I've used them. I had a great experience." And this young lady said, "I made a long distance move from Chicago to Nashville and it wasn't that pleasant." And my wife texted me as they were boarding the plane. They were just chit-chatting back and forth. And the woman said that she had felt like her costs were wrong because she got charged for 7 wardrobe boxes and she only used 3 or something. I forget the actual scenario. And I asked my wife to get the woman's number, and I just Zelled the young lady for the 4 wardrobe boxes. And she went on to refer 15 people to me via text.
And Karen should be the biggest raving fan that you have. If you make Karen happy, that's a person who does the same amount of talking about it as the negative stuff.
Do the right thing, even if people are not watching you. You know what I mean? When I talk with you about moving, Mark, or Steven talks to you, right? Like, we don't do things as friends with the assumption of ever getting something back. I think we should do that same thing with our consumer base.
100%. I totally agree. But when you're talking about, picking up the phone, okay, great, I'm the owner giving the call, you're going to get the backlash saying, "Well, okay, but does Steven have time to deal with it, as the owner of the company? Like, how is that process working? Like, the bigger you get, you're not getting that, you're not even knowing you have people like underneath, some manager underneath the, the customer care team who's handling the claims department, is dealing with it. And you don't even know the 3 1-star reviews that came in as the owner. Is that acceptable in your eyes? Is there some type of level? I love being able to handle the claims. Like to me, if something happens,
I love them.
I say, send it over to me. Let me deal with it, because I'm just like you. I want to phone the customer up. I want to talk to them, let them know we're on top of it, taking care of it, and away we go. But what do you do in those situations where I
would argue that if you don't have time as the company owner in order to handle those calls, that you should probably readjust your priorities, because that 1-star review is not just a 1-star review. That 1-star review is somebody that's going to tell 30 people throughout their lifetime that they had a crappy experience. That 1-star review could potentially reduce your conversion on your bookings. That 84% of consumers, I believe that's about the number, are actually pre-qualifying home-based service companies online with their reviews before they actually call the company. So I would use that as a badge of honor in order to find time, in order to take those calls, in order to make sure that Mark or Steven are not looking at that review as fake or as true as it is, and make sure that they're carrying that experience into the phone call when they're calling my call center.
It's the front door of your company. That is if we don't have a retail shop, people don't come to us like a restaurant. But if I'm a business owner, am I going to neglect walking through the front door every day while there's paint's chipping off?
You're going to say dog shit on your lawn
and things of that nature, right? But you know what? This is your front door. It's not only your front door to your customers, it's your front door to your employees and your future employees. They're saying that's okay. That's what we gave off to customers when you just Google your company. because Google likes to throw the negative one that nobody takes down there to make sure you're real. I got a 4.9 with, I don't know how many, over 3,000 reviews, right? Going on 4. And
But Patricia from 1997,
just have you, right?
Patricia from 1997, she's still angry about the fact that you drove on her lawn.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's some people I don't get to, but I teach in that note too. I come with authority. If people aren't handling claims under me like I do, or aren't handling that 1 star and it does get to me, I'm always asking why. Why didn't we fix this when it was a penny? Why did it go through so many people now? We're spending $1,000 and it's on me, when the first person could have just made this customer happy like I want.
We all know that the longer the claim goes, the less likely you are to get it resolved for a reasonable cost. We all know this.
Yeah, it gets worse and worse.
We all know this.
That's a KPI check. Big KPI check is your closing time on claims. If you're not measuring that, you're not being an owner who cares about your service and your customers and how they do get covered. I want to be.
It only takes 5 minutes to call up these customers and speak with them about these reviews, Mark. This is not some large back and forth. Hop on with the consumer. Whatever this woman's name was in this review, like, hey, Stacy, I'm really glad that there was a lot of stuff that went on with this move that was really good. But like the stuff that you didn't like I want to be able to sleep at night as the owner of the company. I got into this business with the intention of helping people and not harming people. So I want to make sure that, like, if you have pictures of any of those boxes that were only partially packed, I would ask that you send those to me and my team so that this way we can refund you for every single box that wasn't packed to your standards. We know that that's going to be giving $5 or $7 back to a customer. But just by extending that olive branch alone, you showed them that you're willing to do stuff. On this particular review, if this was a local move, I would say for any boxes that we didn't pack, all the way up for you, or do you still have these boxes? We'll come take a look. We're just going to refund you the cost of the boxes. And then all that stuff that we left over, if this was a local move, I would just say, hey, we're going to send out somebody right away to come pick it up and place in your home free of cost. And that's it.
Yeah. So I like exactly. I mean, the only trick situation that I'm going to play devil's advocate here is one, this lady did not use my moving boxes. She had her own moving boxes. So I'm not refunding anything because she went to Home Depot, Public Storage, wherever she went, picked up these boxes. Her aunties just moved, so gave her all these boxes, whatever, right? And that's where the complaint came in back to from the owners saying, well, your boxes got crushed because you didn't use our boxes, and we have thicker corrugated boxes from XYZ packing supplies. That's issue number one. Number two is, let's say it's end of the month. This person has to be out. Right? They have to be out on the 31st. They don't have time for you to come back tomorrow to pick up the rest of the stuff. And they now worked until midnight to get however they had to do, or phone some last minute ABC moving company to pick up the stuff. So the question I'm throwing out there is, this situation, what do you want to give back? Are you refunding the packing services? Are we crediting them like $300-$400? That's my first question. And then two is, what do you do for your team afterwards, something like this? Like, what are you? Where are you going back on and talking to the team about to say where did we fuck up here?
There's a point of no return, right? I will listen to a customer, right? And there's a percentage, a small percentage of customer, and I will say, reading that review, there's no chance I can't get out of that one, right? But then
for sure, it's 100% hit rate.
Yeah. No, there's a percentage. I don't have all 5 stars, right? Because there is a point where I say, no matter what I give this customer through that conversation, they're calling me names while I'm apologizing, right? While I'm saying from the bottom of my heart, is there anything I can do? We've all been there where we've been cussed down, right? Or they're so frustrated and stressed that they're mocking my yes, sir, to somebody, right? I hear all those things. There is a point of no return. And if that point of no return, then you get the real, like hey, I'm not just throwing money at this. You're being irreasonable, and I'm sorry. I'm moving on, and I am the last person to talk to.
But I think in this review, though, but I think in this review, I bet you this could have turned from a 1-star to like a 4, if not 5-star, had they executed exactly what you both have said, which is you call that customer up right away. You see the situation, and let's say my scenarios were accurate, and you go, great. You look at the packing costs of everything. Hey, let me refund you XYZ to cover that. We're completely sorry. Everything, that whole scenario. Get a photo, like Brian said, and I'm pretty sure that person would have changed it around. Like, this does not seem like a hardcore Karen that doesn't care what you're going to say.
Nobody's going to come out and say that there was good aspects of the move if you couldn't turn it around. This person has some humility, number one. Number two, to your question, Mark, why do we as moving company owners find the necessity to be goddamn perfect all the time? Like, I'm not looking to figure out. I tell the consumer all the time, I don't care who's right or wrong. I care that you feel like we've overcharged you and that I have a shitty review online. So I'm looking for us both to win here. You feel like I didn't pack these boxes and I'm going to refund you $100 for the boxes, regardless of if you got them from fucking Ace Hardware, Home Depot, regardless of if you got them from me. Why is that a battle that we're willing to pick? Well, where did you buy the boxes? Well, why are we talking about this? It's so stupid. Like, I'm going to have to pay you $2 per box more when, like, we're collecting hundreds of thousands of dollars in revenue. And then we're going to ask somebody like, well, you bought those at Menards, so I'm going to refund you. Fuck it. Who cares? Just give them the cost of the boxes back. Give them the cost of the boxes back. Hey, look, this is what I'm looking to do. I'm looking to itemize, ma'am, everything that you didn't like about this move. Then I'm going to systematically give you a resolution for each thing that you didn't like. If we get down to the nitty gritty, we're able to fix everything for you. Would you have said otherwise this was a 5-star experience? Yes, I would. Okay, ma'am, it looks like we didn't pack these 5 boxes. You got these from Home Depot for $5. Here's your $50. In exchange for this, honestly, I have 350 people that work for me. Is there any chance, if you can find it in your heart, after I take care of this for you, if you would be able to either take down or turn around that review? Did I solve everything to your expectation in order to create this into a 5-star review? Yes, I did. Well, let's go online and do it, and I'm going to Zell you right now.
Boom, mic drop.
But you're there, and at that point, you got to look back at your team, because the way I see it, every dollar that I just spent on that claim, I got to get some ROI on that. I got to go handle this so everybody on my team involved, it never happens again. And I got to.
We are a little bit
right. The big thing is driving that point, and it's like everybody under you likes to take the habit of it's not a big deal. So as the owner, you got to make it a big deal, because they don't think of Jeff. The public that's putting my picture out there that sees me, they're not thinking of Jeff when they're making a decision to ignore a customer or put them off. Right?
Jeff gets his salary whether or not that review is up or not. Now, it's your ass that might not be able to buy a new home in 10 years.
He doesn't have the same enthusiasm to run to the customer and stop them from talking to anybody else.
And let's stop expecting people to actually have that enthusiasm. This is our child, but when the nanny comes over, the nanny might love the baby, but she's really glad when the job is done and she can just get the hell out of there, right? Like, nobody loves your baby like you love your baby. Your baby can be cute. Stephen, you got very cute babies. But at the end of the day, if I'm watching those kids, I'm watching them, and then I'm taking whatever money you're willing to give me, probably nothing, and I'm hightailing it the fuck out of there.
Then you got to remind, like, just on that note, they don't think that way, so you got to remind them. I had that post the other day, but it's, hey, what do you mean you didn't call that person? Do you have my back? Right? Like, really, man? Like, are you looking out for big league on that side? Is that because you usually get this all roll your eyes. I don't have that sentiment of it's my baby. Right? But if when you're using the tie, you're in it to work for me and I'm paying a salary, it's, hey, man, come on. Like, why are we scared to say that? Like, really? You could have.
I think I've said that.
Me, right?
I think I've said this before. If you can find somebody that does things 80% in your likeness, hold on to them. Hold on to them. Because as a person that's hired thousands of people over the years, I can probably count on one hand people that have done things 80% in my likeness.
Yes.
One hand. 80%. That's it.
Jeez, I'm
That's
glad
all.
we two are in the same boat.
So you have to remind everybody all the time of what that expectation is. What do I look out for to watch my own back, but I need them to look out for? You got to remind them.
Me and Steven are two different kind of owners, but Steven will sit down at your desk and have that conversation with you and just say, what? I'm going to send them like an email and say like, hey, this doesn't meet protocol. Next time there's a write-up. Steven's going to be like, really fucking Jeff? Really with this shit?
Like, look at my kids. They're cute. Why are you doing this to me? Yeah. You know,
I'm very picky, right? Like, I'm almost a little bit of the mixture of both. There's certain guys and gals where I will be like, you're in my office and we're sitting down going like, what the fuck just happened? And then there's like a couple other ones where I'm like, you did not follow protocol, and you are going to get right up next time. So like I kind of like tiptoe a little bit about like who I'm going to address that way compared to like who's getting the email, and that's all. Right?
I got high marks from my staff one time, and it was the weirdest situation. But we had this client who had this bad experience and actually said something like racially derogatory. And I was just like, hey, hold on, Nick, pass me the phone. And then I sort of like told this person like, hey, this is not how you conduct yourself. This is not how you speak with my people. And I must have got 15 emails from people that heard me that are like, thanks for having my back. And I'm like, that was just like a given, dude. You can't speak with my employees like this. So like I frequently find myself in situations where I'm asking them to do things that they shouldn't have to do. I'll tag them out, just like WCW wrestling, right? Like
you're in.
Who was the Rockers, the new Rockers? What were their names, Steven?
The new Rockers? Just the Rockers. It was the Rockers.
Just the Rockers.
Marty Jannetty.
What was their Marty Jannetty and Shawn Michaels?
Yeah, HBK.
Yeah, I'm tag teaming them out, just like Marty Jannetty. Or I guess in that analogy, I'd be Shawn Michaels, but that's neither here nor there.
You see me shaking my head that I was Shawn Michaels? There you go. All right.
Now, okay, so you got a solid team. We're holding people, we're making sure we're taking them out in situations where there's a bit of uneasiness, and we are making sure that our employees know the praise. How well do we know our employees?
I got to ask you this too on that note, Mark. So you said you wave the line both ways. Right.
Yeah.
And as you say that, you're thinking about both groups and the setting that you're waving like that. Both.
Yeah.
Well, who follows you more? Which group? Who does the things that you're asking them to do in that manner? Who do you have to correct more?
I actually find the more in-person meetings that I have in the sit down, there's a lot more being developed after.
Opportunity space.
Like, because there's a lot of times where I'm just coming like a barking dog going like, what the fuck? Because a lot of people know me. They go, Mark's a pretty good guy. I really like having him as my boss. He's always like that level. He doesn't want to take things always to like the next level, yelling and screaming, which to me, it's a waste of energy. So
you have small children. You've seen worse.
Seen worse. I've seen worse.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like when you do see me angry, when you do see me pissed off, you know that the passion within the company is lying in my tone, is lying in our conversation. And typically after that whole conversation, there's usually like this more understanding. Okay, we've all said our piece. Like, how are we coming to a resolution? As opposed to sending off an email being like, hey, you've done this, you're getting written up. The next time
it's opportunity space. That's what I live by. Confrontation. If you let confrontation and run from it, it's horrible. It's all bad.
You must have a different staff down there in Memphis, Tennessee than these theater actors and improv comedians that I got down here in Chicago.
You know that.
Man, you bring that Memphis smoke. Hey, bring that Memphis smoke down to Chicago, and you'll be doing the sales, the customer service, and the dispatch yourself. You'll run them all off. You must have a
I would never have theater as my employees, I guess, on that side, because I wouldn't be able to relate to them and have that opportunity space on that side to say. But I
can tell you my experience in theater ended in the 5th grade. I was Eugene in the school's rendition of Grease, and I did a very good job, but I was originally supposed to be the lead, and I got myself into some shit I'm not going to share.
That's episode 2.
And that's all I got to say about that. Stay tuned.
Yeah, exactly.
Every confrontation is that's a negative word, but every confrontation is an opportunity space, and I look for those. And you don't do them in front of other people, right? But you shut the door and you have a conversation. You say, "I appreciate you. I appreciate what you've done, but either I'm not looking for this and we're going to move on, or I got a real big problem with this. This is not what I'm trying to do." And my best employees, my best relationships, why I'm able to sit here and talk to this podcast right now instead of being up there, is from those conversations. I look for opportunity space that gets me through. Those conversations get me through for years with employees. I look for opportunity space every time I leave the office. I'm trying to take somebody home. If somebody doesn't have a ride, I'm trying to take them home, because there's never going to be another time where you're going to get 15 minutes with somebody just to talk about and be open to, hey, here's what I'm trying to do. And here's the opportunity you have to grow alongside with him. What do you have about it? And that's when you all of a sudden get a different guy that next day.
I call that breakthrough moments.
Yeah.
I call that breakthrough moments. I had a driver, and I won't mention his name, on this podcast, but a very dear driver that was with me for 15 years. 5 years into his employment with the company, his mother had an asthma attack at the McDonald's on Grand Avenue in Chicago. And this guy was basically, this was 10 years ago, far between Lyft and mother had an asthma attack that ended up being fatal at that McDonald's. And he called me and said that he had gotten a call from the McDonald's that his mother had given his number. And I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Get in the car. Let's go. Let's make sure that we drive this McDonald's. His mother ends up effectively passing away in his arms. Now, I know this is like a drop. I know that this is like a really, really, really big exception to the rule on breakthrough moments, right? But this gentleman, we had that breakthrough moment. We shared that together. I was there for him and his family. And over the next 10 years, that was a breakthrough moment that just bonded us as people. And I knew that with that breakthrough moment, he knew that I was there for him. Whether I spoke with him every day, every week, or every month, he knew that we had shared that breakthrough moment. And I didn't have to do something, and I didn't know what the outcome was going to be, but I did it just because I cared about it.
I had that with a driver. That worked for me. That's
and then you see who's leading with them, and they're aligned with you more than ever after that, right? It's that
I did it to be a good guy, but that's what we call a win-win, man.
Yeah,
yeah. I had a driver.
Win-win.
I had a driver once years ago that ended up almost similar scenario, who basically phoned me up saying, listen, my mom is in the hospital. I don't know how much time she has left. She's in Ontario. I have no money to make this happen. And I turned around and says, well, what day do you need to go? And then I just went ahead and booked the flight, said, don't even worry about it. Here you go. I mean, what was $500? And I mean, he eventually paid me back. I didn't even really care. But the point is his mom ended up passing away during that week. And after that, he still stayed on. And we even after he left the company, we've still been in communication and talk and everything else. And it's been one of those things where but it wasn't even so much the connection and the win-win we had. It was the win-win that whenever a new employee came to the company or whenever he was working with someone, he always wanted to share that story as this is the type of company owner that you're working for. And he always goes above and beyond.
It didn't buy you one person's favor. It bought you 50 or 100 people's
100%.
favors. I had a situation where I have a large sort of Latin American population of my company. This gentleman came to me and was like, hey, there was this hot liquid that was somehow on this truck in Mexico. And this drum had actually spilled over. And my wife's entire right side of her body was effectively like 3rd degree, 4th degree burns, or I don't know what degree, but let's just say whatever the bad degree is, right? And then he was like, I guess the medical system's different over there, so you need money in order for them to treat you or something. I'm not really sure of the specifics. But it was effectively like $2,000 that she needed for this care or something with bandaging and cleaning it up and making sure that she was sort of rehabbed and everything like that. So I thought about my life in that moment. And I said, I have a house in Illinois. I have a house in Florida. I have 2 small children. Me and my wife each lease cars that are very nice, but I'm not like one of these sports car dudes. Like I got a Chevy Suburban, right? Like my wife has like a Jeep Cherokee. Like no real great shakes, but just because we're not interested.
What's the trim? What's the trim on that Suburban, buddy?
It's a high country, but it's a high country, but you're diluting from.
It's a high country, my friend.
It's a high country, okay? It's got. I didn't even know that I wanted the high country because it has the chrome. I'm not sure. Okay, the high country comes with 22-inch rims. Now, as you know of a man from Memphis, I'm sure you can appreciate that.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So it comes. They're not Spreewells, but yes, they are 22s, and it's chrome. It's chromed out, and I didn't know if I wanted the chrome, but I didn't want to go with the stealthy all black type because it had that SR71 in it or something. And I'm looking for the smallest amount of cylinders I can get because I don't want to hurt myself, and I don't want to pay a lot on gas anyways. So I look back at my life and I say, I have all these blessings, and this guy's like, I'm in this country. I will have to fly back and lose work and then fly back to the United States. I'm worried about my wife. I'm on a FaceTime call with her. And I just thought, fuck, man, just take the $2,000, bro. My life is blessed. Just take the $2,000. I don't care. My life is blessed, man.
Why are you? Well, hey, I'll say it's today. I don't know.
It doesn't change my. I'm not telling anybody to give away money, but in that moment, I'm not telling anybody what to do with their money. But in that moment, I just thought about where this man was in this moment of his life, and where I was at, and that $2,000 didn't make a difference for me. And this man might have gone on for years to worry about his wife's care. And in that moment, I wasn't concerned about the P&L. I was concerned about just one human being to another.
That's my biggest KPI. I can go stories on this for years and years and days of how I do this. In fact, I just got off a call I ran. Hey, Elaine, I need you to put this through on Venmo to our Ready Rolls team. So I spent 33 people $100 and a few of them a lot more because they had a hurricane there this week.
Yeah, I heard. Yeah.
And not one person took off because they needed the money. It's a different culture. But just to say those things, those are opportunity spaces, like he says. That is a KPI that fills my heart, that it knows everything. These people that are working for me to build my vision, there's nobody else that's believing in me like that. They're signed up for me and do most of their life with me, right, in a work career. I'm going to have battles, and you know who I go to when I have battles? Brian, don't say you. I'm going to go to my organization.
You're talking about battles with your wife isn't going to listen to this, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so once in a while when you guys get into it, you bring those battles to my doorstep, and
That's
I try
right.
to help you and vice
I don't
versa.
bring that to work, but when I'm battling with financials, cash flow, anything, who are you? You're talking to your team because y'all got to get out of the hole, right? And so when they come to you and you're in the hole, if they're doing everything with you, that's an opportunity space to get on the same page and in an ear and get a trust level and get on the same boat ride. And there's nothing that stops you when you're on that same boat ride. So I look for that. That's a KPI for me. I got 33 today, but you need to get 5 a week. I look for them. And when you look for them, you're taking people home, right? You're looking for this claim review, Mark. So hey, you know how many of that I got? How many Packers do I got? I got 4 things of opportunity space.
You know what? To answer your question about people that I don't have time to call back these 3 people with the 1-star reviews. Me and Steven, and the reason why our companies, I think, grew to the stature that they are is just because we absolutely dead ass live this life. We're about this. We're about this from the time we wake up to the time we go to sleep. I get more pleasure out of going to the grocery store with my new City shirt on and people saying, man, we just had a great experience. We just used you for a move. Are you one of the movers there? And I say, no, ma'am, I'm the owner. And I shake their hand. And you know what? That feels, at some point with the 4,000 5-star reviews, they start to all run into the same. But when you got a human being that calls you out at a grocery store and says, hey, I like your shirt. I used you guys 4 times and I'm thrilled with it, right? Like, I don't know. That means something to me. I think that's why I got into this business, and I never lost touch of that. You know, I actually feel good from that kind of stuff. I know Steven does a bunch of charity in the community. I have a daughter with autism, and this guy, autism awareness is his main focus this year, but he's had other focuses. You know, like giving away that small amount of money, I guess there's 2 reasons to do it. There's a reason for the optics of it, and then there's a reason for the heart of it. And I'm not saying that I can end world hunger or create peace in the Middle East, but if you can do something small like that inside of your community, I love Chicago, he loves Memphis. If we can do something small like that, I think it matters to us. I don't know if people have problems in Canada. I heard you guys are all really nice. So do you guys?
Well, if you're avoiding that, if you're living a life where you're not making sure these reviews are gone or your reputation is that, you are killing yourself. You are giving yourself the worst ad service you're giving everybody else the advantage because you're scared to put yourself out there because people will comment on a crappy service, right? You're hiding because you're not proud of your product. And then I get all the business from being able to be proud of it. So that's just such a big thing is tackle those things at your front damn doors. Brian's got me cussing on this bad boy, but it is easier.
It's all good.
Now it's in trouble.
It's a real knee slapper.
That's right.
But it is your front
damn.
Calm yourself down. It is that is you protect it with all you got and you give yourself a lot of opportunity and look for those things on the back end. It's opportunity space. There's a 1-star review gets me going because I'm going to get it off there and there's going to be a lot of people.
I love it. I actually like it better than we can do 100, 150,000 moves in a day. But if I got that 1-star review, that's really challenging. Also, what is it with clients that people that are absolute assholes, they marry really nice spouses. I've never had a situation where the husband and the wife are awful. It's either one or another.
Totally.
If I just wanted to say that road, can we
hold on? I got one thing to say before I forget.
Same name as their email. If it's Stephen Reed at StephenReed.com, red fucking flag.
or if they are a hedge fund manager, or if they are a lawyer. Shout out to our lawyer, Patrick, but I'm sure you get into fights with home service businesses, but you're a great lawyer. Let me say one thing before I forget here. Stephen, it's a damn slippery slope when you've been calling up those 1-stars and then you decide in your mind to let one slide. It's a damn slippery slope, because if you're willing to let one slide, you're willing to let 2 slide. If you're willing to let 2 slide, you're willing to let 10 slide. If you're willing to let 10 slide, your business has suffered.
And if you don't have enough time to do it, then whoever you're paying to have the time, ask them why the hell they're not doing it like you do. Because it's your front door.
Okay, so we're gonna flip it now,
There we go.
and we're gonna. Well, look, those other topics and segments,
You
but I'm
found
like,
two guys passionate about claims, Mark. You found 2 guys on claims that are that like.
you know, the problem is that we're supposed to be discussing 1-star reviews almost like every episode. Was kind of like was my thought process. We're gonna go into
The review of the
tangents
week
every single time. But you know, one of the last topics I want to dive in. I had a guest on, Dan Fox, awesome guy from the UK, from Fox Moving and Storage. One of the comments he made to me that kind of like really made my eyes open up was, he said, you know, they're so tight with not just being a family owned moving company, but they treat their employees like family, that he knows all 130 employees. He knows them all by name. And I was like, I'm going to call your bullshit. And he's like, nope, like 100%. We could go to my warehouse and find somebody and I'll know their name. And to me, that really meant a lot. I was like, wow, that's pretty amazing. Because as the larger you get, you know, small moving companies, everybody's really tight, right? Like my previous moving company, like I knew everybody in and out. Like we would go out for lunch. I'd take these guys out for lunch. What do you say to a comment like that, where like, what are you guys doing within your company do you choose like some key players? Are you out there with dispatch in the morning? Do you check and see, oh, these are some new employees? You're like, oh, I have no idea who these 10 people that just walked by me at my location are.
Yeah. So I think when I started the company, I was dispatching for probably the better part of 7 years, let's call it. And at that point, I think with me at the helm and dispatch, we had gotten the company to probably about, let's call it 100, this was 19, we started in 2000, we started in, I would say 15, something.
You were out of that when I visited you in 2016, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So when you visited me in 2016, I was more or less like hiring people for every role. But from 09 to about 15, I was doing the dispatch, a lot of the customer service, a little bit of the sales, and I had an office manager. I personally find it difficult when people are like, hey, I got 2 trucks and I'm looking for a GM or an office manager. Now, keep in mind, guys, I'm not casting any shade, and I'm not saying that I'm better than anybody. But what I am saying is if you want to live this and actively have it be a business, you should be able to the 10, 15, 20 truck range. You should be able to send the guys out in the morning, answer the phones, deal with some claims, because it's not, just don't overthink it is what I'm trying to say.
Can you go through that
Once
tree?
again,
Did you say, what was the tree of trucks there that you said there? Did I hear you say 20?
I would say, yeah, I would say I would say you can get to 15 trucks all day, being the guy that handles the claims, deals with each one of the consumers. So during that time, I think, let's call it
Heavy
15.
part of operations, you mean, right?
Let's say that we had 150, 160 guys and let's say 50 trucks or something like that. And definitely knew all the movers on a first name basis, definitely knew their wives, their kids, and all of that stuff. It had this familial thing to it. And in the later stages of the company, when we got to like 138 trucks and 350 guys going out, I would say that I knew all of the core guys inside of my organization. We consider the core of our company to be the year-rounders. So anybody that is with us for the winter, summer, and sort of like all year long, we put guys in the end of the season, guys and girls, we put them into categories, right? And the core guys are guys that are going to live with us, die with us, winter, summer, just like the heartbeat of the company. And then we had a recruiter at the organization that later took on, and he was the front-facing person for our seasonal hires, people that were going to come for a season, go back to their home country on a J-1 visa, were American citizens but had dual citizenship. So all of these kind of folks he was in charge of, because I noticed like up until that point, I wanted to focus on the core because there's only so many human beings and only so many things that you can touch in a day until you start to become disingenuous. And I wanted to have a deep, there is a reason why we could reach $25 million in one location and didn't branch this thing off and decimate everybody in the Midwest. And that's because, for better or for worse, and my logic is completely flawed on this, I wanted to know all the people that were working for me. I wanted to have a relationship with them both inside and outside of work. So I chose on purpose to be the bigger fish in a small pond instead of the small fish in a large pond. So this was all by design that we had one location and built this thing up, because I wanted to know and impact the people's lives directly that were helping me get to where I'm at. No, I'm not saying that Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk are doing it wrong. I'm just saying I was very clear and concise about my mission statement when I started this thing. And I just wanted to know everybody that worked for me. And I wanted to be able to give back to them and give back to my family at the same time. So we decided Indianapolis, Milwaukee, Cincinnati, We just decided it purposely wasn't for us. And it wasn't the right financial decision, but it's just the decision I made. Do I regret it now? Maybe sometimes. But for the most part, everybody on this call lives a blessed life.
Steven, that was good. That was good.
Yeah, I mean,
I was like,
that was really
that was
good.
good. Yeah.
I gotta say this too. I was going to say it earlier, and Brian started going a little bit on my good stuff. But Brian, when I was in Atlanta, and every penny I was watching, and I was trying to make payroll, and I wasn't paying myself. I was in that zone in how I handle claims. 60 cents per pound. Okay, whatever. It's uncontrollable, right? I'm not saying that it's that easy and nobody's in that scenario. But Brian really influenced me at that time. And he said, look, man, just give them money and move on with it. Stop spending your time. Stop spending the stress, haggle. That's the problem, right? If you start writing the product and listen to those customers, that's when you start shifting over. And I got to say, it changed how I led my company. It changed my organization. So
at one point, we were able to get to 10,000, 11,000, 12,000, 13,000 moves a year with a 67% repeat and referral rate. Do you really want to argue with me with the client about where they got the boxes? Home Depot or Ace Hardware?
Yeah,
dude,
sure.
New City, just like Big League, the system is easy. You get the young kids in college, you sell them the fucking Happy Meal. Those people go off to college and they start to buy houses. And now you got the double cheeseburger meal, right? And then they marry each other, they start procreating, and you sell them the Big Mac and move them out to the suburbs.
You got to have a customer for life, right? Be a part of it. Be their neighbor, right? If they were moving into your neighborhood, are you going to run away from how they feel? Or are you going to not care what the reason is and make them feel better because you got to see them every day?
I really admire Steven for this, because he decided like, hey, I'm going to pull back on Atlanta. I'm going to double down in Memphis, but not just that. I understand that I'm in a second tier, smaller market. So I'm going to open up reciprocal businesses that are going to allow my main business in order to have a lifetime value with that customer, so that we might not be doing as many moves as New City, but I'm getting 2 or 3 bites off the apple with different services. And he's right around the same point that I am in regards to the different companies, right? He might not make the biggest margin delivering mattresses when he had a mattress business. He might not make the biggest doing furniture delivery like he's doing, but that truck is just, you can't think about Memphis and not think about Big League Movers, because that truck's doing something in front of your house.
And we see it as we're your neighbor, right? Oh, you chose to go the cheap route? Okay, well, you'll see us at your school. You'll be thinking about that bad move while we're at your campaign, while we're cheering on your kids through their life in our community. That's going to be around. You make that choice, but we're going to be with you in your community. We're going to be your neighbor either way.
I like that.
That's at 96 Spirit.
Yeah.
Where's my trophy? 1996 G1AA MVP. The first
MVP. That's the MVP status, man. That's the
No, it's not. The MVP trophy is just an MVP trophy is an MVP trophy. There's a lot of great players out there, but tell them how you got that trophy. What position were you playing? You were at
Center.
Quarterback? Center.
This
guy was Urlacher 96, baby.
That's
He
right.
sent me a picture the other day around 11 p.m. You should see the shoulders on this man in 96. If anybody's listening to this, message Steven on Facebook and ask him to hit you with that trophy with him and his dad with the little Pee-wee trophies. They gave the trophy to your dad in 96. Your shoulders were so big.
How proud my dad was in that picture? I mean, I've won business of the year here. I've won 40 under 40 several times. I've won all kinds of stuff. I've never seen my dad so proud with that peanut bowl trophy. That MVP.
But why did they give him one?
Oh, no, I think those are mine. Yeah, those are.
They gave you 2 trophies?
I had 3.
You're just holding up all the trophies.
I got one. 2. Yeah.
You guys just went to the mantle and just started pulling off trophies from years past.
No, you got to, when you have the clean sweep, you got an MVP of the peanut bowl, you got the peanut bowl, and then you got the MVP of the season. All right.
Jeez, you got walked away with 3 trophies.
This is before they were giving out trophies to losers. You had to be a winner in 96.
That's
in
right.
order to get that trophy.
That's right.
Then I peaked.
Well, hey, let's give this guy a trophy. This 5-star review comes in says, "This is my second time using Pure Moving, and I have to say again that this is simply an amazing moving company. They go beyond the basics of diligence and making sure your stuff isn't damaged. Ray and his entire crew were proactively kind, patient, and helpful, making sure that everything was unpacked nicely, working and placed exactly how I wanted it. Moving is stressful. They make it a pleasure. Thank you to Ray and the entire team." And this was Pure Moving out in Seattle. So a big shout out to Pure Moving.
Nice.
Well done, guys. Like, that's kind of where it's at. And it tied in with the photo too. So I'd made sure this review wasn't coming from somebody in like Zakadupi, in the Middle East. This was like a legit 5-star review from this company.
Hey, I hate to pause you out there for a second, but he actually had stepped out. I thought he was going to use the restroom, and he brought back that, for everybody watching this on video, he actually went and grabbed that Pee-wee trophy.
There it is.
That's
there it is.
It's a little aged, but what it says is the 1996 GYA Junior Mustang's most valuable player offense. That might have been the first time somebody called me Steve Reed.
I've never called you Steve.
Shit.
I'm also willing to make a verbal commitment on this right now that I'm pretty sure is legally binding. If you manage to pass away before I do, I'm going to have that made into a 6-foot, and I'm going to put it right on your gravestone.
I love it.
Oh, it's awesome. Well, everybody, I hope you enjoyed this episode 1, because I'm sure this could be cut up into about 4 different episodes, but we want to keep it tight. We want people to enjoy these episodes. Yeah, give us some comments. Make sure you hit us up. You'll have their contact details, obviously, in Spotify and YouTube and Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen, wherever you watch. Check us out. But definitely drop us some comments. Let us know what you want us to talk about. Give us some topics of discussion, or we're just going to keep mumbling the same shit every week. So pick and choose. But anyways,
even if you're not there, even if you don't listen to us, we'll still be here.
Yeah, we'll still be here talking.
That's a threat. That's a threat.
That's a threat. Thanks, guys. You know what? This was Stephen Reed from Big League Movers and Brian Slater from New City Moving. And Mark signing off from Movified. At the end of the day, stay Movified, everybody. And
whoop that trick.
Enjoy your week.
Whoop that
Another
trick.
one.
Whoop
Another one.
Another one. All right. Awesome, boys. Till next time.